We chose the speech, "We Shall Overcome," by Lyndon Baines Johnson because this was during a rough time in American history. At this time, blacks weren't given any rights. This speech helped with eventually giving blacks their rights. Lyndon Baines Johnson was born near Stonewall, Texas on August 27, 1908, in a small farmhouse on the Peter Neeley River. His parents, Samuel Ely Johnson Jr. and Rebecca Baines, had 3 girls and 2 boys. Johnson and his brother Sam Houston Johnson, and sisters Rebecca, Josepha, and Lucia.
This speech was about overcoming stereotypes and giving blacks the rights they are promised in the Constitution. In his opening statement, Johnson says, "I speak tonight for the dignity of man and the destiny of democracy." He wanted blacks to get their rights. Although his main point of his speech is to give blacks their rights and how we will overcome that problem, he also talks about overcoming other problems, such as disease, poverty, and ignorance. As he states in his speech, "And these enemies to poverty, disease, and ignorance we shall overcome." The speech was given in Washington, D.C., in front of President Kennedy and members of Congress.
This speech was given on March 15, 1965. This was a week after African Americans leading a peaceful protest sparked when deadly racial violence in Selma, Alabama, killed a white Unitarian minister from Boston, James J. Reeb, who was taking part in the protest. Lyndon Baines Johnson acknowledges this happening when he says, "At times, history and fate meet at a single time in a single place to shape a turning point in man's unending search for freedom. So it was at Lexington and Concord. So it was a century ago at Appomattox. So it was last week in Selma, Alabama. There, long-suffering men and women peacefully protested the denial of their rights as Americans. Many of them were brutally assaulted. One good man, a man of God, was killed."
We needed to overcome our problems as a nation and learn to live with one another. This was a national problem. He says this in his statement, "There is no Negro problem. There is no Southern problem. There is no Northern problem. Only an American problem." This speech is important because blacks were eventually given their rights, and without this speech, blacks might not have their rights. Keeping rights to vote, or any right in general, away from someone because of their skin color is wrong. And Lyndon Johnson brings this point up when he says, "The Constitution says that no person shall be kept from voting because of his or her race."